All right, let's get this party started, shall we? Pull up game, and here we are. The Mysteries of Baroque, a choose your own adventure game by Choice of Games. As you can see, we are in the second half of this story, chapter 7, The Dance Macabre. To sum up what we have gone through, we are a man, well, a person, uh, who has ended up dead. And before we died, we were a revered occultist who enjoyed the power and prestige of his occult sect up until he was unceremoniously kidnapped, tortured, and killed. Thankfully, Dr. Hollerns has brought us back from the dead through the Holofernes procedure, named after herself, of course. This has given us a second chance in life. Along our way, we have come to the realization it is our dear cousin Vincent who has caused us to become killed for the fortune in which our uncle, an uncle of ours, the same uncle that was his father, but an uncle of ours, to give his inheritance upon his own death. So our cousin Vincent has stolen an inheritance that should have been ours by getting us killed. We have also found out that the people that had killed us is a different occult sect entirely than the one that we were a part of in our former living state. And so now that we are slightly more revenant than we were before, we've returned back to our city and have found ourselves in the charitable and generous hands of a theater owner who is known to take in social outcasts from time to time, being a very reclusive person considering he is a Martian from Barsoom, a Mars. Which is only one of the many references to various literature from the era that this story is written to mimic, which is lovely reference. So if you've seen the movie John Carter of Mars, you'll know what I'm talking of. Needless to say, the tragic murder of said theater owner has caused us to be really sad, and we are attempting to both save the theater from becoming not a thing, to track down our cousin Vincent in any way we can, sort of to get our revenge for our death, but also to right wrongs. We have found out that his older sister Laura was not as dead as we had first assumed and had been in an insane asylum for the majority of her life. We have since saved from that place and gotten her to a much more comfortable place to live out the rest of her life. But now we also have to consider the taking care of a cousin, dealing with another, and righting whatever wrongs that caused our death in the process. Our adventure has led us to the sudden realization that the Holofernes procedure that brought us back to life is flawed. We are ever so quickly getting to die once again. Dr. Holofernes herself has been attempting to figure out how to save us, and in a bout of perhaps insanity, perhaps desperation, and perhaps genius, or truly all of the above, has infected us with the quite deadly Crimson Death, and we have had seemingly mad visions of the past. The mad visions that has filled us has given us a connection to history, and in fact has led us to become symbiotic with the Crimson Death, to fulfill a contract that was very much negotiated ages and ages in the past, and that we have been the first in this modern day to have taken advantage of again. To this end, we now have thousands of eyes and ears wherever the Crimson Death has touched in the city and beyond, and eventually the world, is now, we now have the ability to sense what's going on everywhere. Currently, we are limited to a section of the city, but as we grow and as we become more accustomed to being symbiotic relationship with Crimson Death, it will likely spread further to the entirety of the city and even beyond. Someday the world. That was the choices that we have made, the rough estimation. We have met other characters along the way, so with that being a sort of very brief sum up, we'll go over our stats just to see where we stand before we begin. Our faculties or skills in this game, we have our athletics as 50%, which is neutral. It's we're as athletic as we are not athletic, but we are very, very strong in the occult skills. We have a touch of combat under our belt, though we've not had much, not chosen to use it very often. We have a reasonable amount of insight as well. We are not a scientist. That's what we have Dr. Holofernes for, and we are not an artist. That's what we have the theater performers for, and we have dabbled a tiny bit into crime, but have failed spectacularly in that end. Our demeanor is that we are more compassionate than ruthless, more debonair than brooding, more scheming than forthright, more reasoned than a mystic, more romantic than cynical. We are about as hedonistic as we are austere, and we are more courteous than courteousness has served us well, really. As for our life, we have gone down a tick in electricity, considering we allowed Holofernes to install some talons that both allow us a way of defending ourselves should we be in a combat situation, as well as the ability to climb up the buildings to escape or make our way over rooftops or whatever we should wish to do. We have all taken a hit to our sanity. Not interestingly, not because of our visions from the Crimson Death, but from prior to that, we took a hit to sanity by having to deal with the marshy docks of the town that we are in, and it's very, very insanity-inducing ways. As for our pursuits and desires, we don't have much in the way of desire for minions, but we have done a bit of sabotage. We have looked into some research. Our evidence has actually gone down. I'm not sure entirely, I guess we used up some of it, but the darkness in our heart has strengthened, and our connection to the theater has also strengthened. We are slightly more lawful than revolutionary, as we have become quite of an inspector detective of the city, and we are fairly neutral in our dealings with the neighboring country of Baroque, seeing as we are in the country of Baroque. As for the cast of characters, we are quite fond of Holofernes. Julian, the blind musician or blind violinist, is only an acquaintance of ours. Mona, the information broker, I should say, the keeper, the collector, and goodness, my brain is not on today. The collector and seller of secrets. That's where I'm going. It's still but an acquaintance to us. Attempt to help her get some information, but it didn't quite work out. The Inspector Detective Raucus we have become quite fond of indeed, and in fact, it seems as if Chat has decided that he is to be our love interest in this run, or at the very least, our brother. Chloe, the lead actress ingenue of the theater, we are slightly fond of. We did console her after Mr. Merritt's death. He was the theater owner. And the revolutionary spy, Nicholas, is an acquaintance of ours, and interestingly enough, an acquaintance of Julian's, as we have recently learned, though we don't know how that goes down, but apparently Julian is a little bit revolutionary himself for a blind man. So that's where we stand stats-wise, which gets us into Chapter 7, the Danse Macabre. To you, it seemed that many thousand years passed by while you wrestled with the strange fever dreams of the Crimson Death, while you dreamed of being a dark god and the hubris-crazed architect of the Tower of Babel. After such eternity's memory and madness, it is hard to feel sure even that you have truly awoken. The Grand Guignol Theatre, usually so filled with life and noise, is dark and silent. Even the rats seem to have fled the building since the plague doctors declared quarantine. The theatre's rumors and lore have sometimes nicknamed you the Phantom of the Grand Guignol. Never has the title felt more fitting. You make your way to the stairs to study the situation throughout the theater. Yes, Shrav, you definitely called it. We have finally gotten our Phantom of the Opera reference. Oh, it feels good. It feels good. Crackling and popping. There is quite literally nothing on my end that says why it is doing that. It should be fine. Not entirely certain why. It's fully charged. It doesn't show any reason for it to be doing that. I'm not entirely certain why. I will work on it for a second and see if I can't clear it up. Pardon my attempt. Hmm. Hmm.
Still looking. Is it cleared up at all? I mean, thank you for letting me know, Trav, but has it cleared up at all? As I run every diagnostic my computer can do. Okay. I have changed some settings. I don't know if that was the problem, but hopefully this will fix it for the time being. So back to what we were reading. All right. So we make our way to above the laboratory. With their usual cold and silent efficiency, the plague doctors have sealed up the Grand Guignol. Windows have been boarded, doors blocked off. The beak-masked, leather-coated plague doctors stand guard at every possible entrance to the building, armed with sabers and pistols. Sabers and pistols. Nobody knows very much about the plague doctors, a reclusive and enigmatic order. They appear without warning at the site of Crimson Death outbreaks and immediately act to seal off affected buildings. Although they are not affiliated with the government of Baroque or any other state, they will not hesitate to use lethal violence against those who try to escape from the quarantined areas or interfere with their work. Their quarantine is generally maintained over a couple of weeks until the disease runs its course and all unfortunates within must have succumbed. Then they disappear as suddenly as they arrived, leaving those left behind to claim and bury their dead. The plague doctors are still guarding the Grand Theater, meaning they will shoot you if they see you trying to emerge. The plague doctors cannot be reasoned with. They have rarely even been known to speak, but you need to leave the theater. You can sense that Vincent has returned to Baroque and that Succoth Benoth is stirring once again. Terrible things are afoot tonight, and you must play your part in them. Three plague doctors stand on guard outside each possible exit from the building. How will you break free of the Grand Gugunal? And here we come to our very first choice. Will we try to assemble the equipment in the underground laboratory into some kind of weapon to use on the plague doctors? Will we try to steal out of the theater without being seen? Or will we fight the plague doctor guards in hand-to-hand combat? We do not have enough science for the first one. That is a definite. I mean, we could try it. I don't think it will go well. We also do not have enough crime. Like, we've only dabbled in crime to steal out of the theater without being seen, but we have it's slightly higher than 50% that we will pass it, but I'm pretty sure at this point it's not very doable. And we also have just a touch of combat skill as well. So science, crime, or combat is what we have to choose between skill-wise, as far as I believe that's what this is alluding to. So how will we get out? Chat, how will we get out? 1, 2, or 3? Let me know. One, 2, or 3? What are we doing? I mean, honestly, I think we're stuck between 2 and 3, to be honest. We're actually as good at combat as we are crime, Trav. So it's a coin toss between those, but we have no science. Now, we could gain some science by trying the first one. However, I have a feeling that the reason why the plague doctors know where the outbreaks are is because they are also connected to the Crimson Death, and we are now connected to the Crimson Death. They might just think we're the one of them, honestly. We did not take the plague doctor disguise when we had the chance in early chapters, but we took the occult outfit to go all in on occult. If only we had the occult option here. All right, let's see if we can steal up the theater without being seen. The plague doctors do not seem to be troubled by the human weaknesses of other guards. You observe the plague doctors encircling the theater for as long as you can, but they seem to remain perpetually alert, never becoming distracted or leaving their posts. They do not even talk among themselves. They simply stand there, the bulging insectile lenses in their masks seeming to take everything in. This will be a formidable test of your skills. You move as quietly and stealthily as possible, but the plague doctors detect you almost instantly. Those masked heads snap up, and within a moment they have drawn their heavy pistols. The plague doctors move and fire in eerie unison, like 3 marionettes on the same set of strings. You feel an explosion of pain as the 3 bullets hit you, and you are thrown back against the wall of the Grand Theater, a gaping hole blasted in your chest. You pass out from the pain, and apparently get chucked in a cart. Well, we tried. When you surface once again to consciousness, you find yourself flat on your back, swaying from side to side. You are in the back of a cart being driven through the streets of Baroque. a masked plague doctor mounted on the driver's seat. Your flesh is knitting painfully back together, fiber by fiber. It does not take you long to realize what must have occurred. The plague doctors, assuming you to be dead, are taking your body for cremation at the designated zone outside the city limits. Once you are capable of movement, it is an easy matter to slip off the cart and into the streets without the driver noticing. Finally. Nevertheless, you are aware that there may be repercussions from this episode. The plague doctors possess an uncanny ability to detect crimson death outbreaks as soon as they happen. This may mean that they have some kind of link to the sentient disease themselves. Since you carry the crimson death, the plague doctors may be able to track you through the city from afar. You have made enemies of a dangerous and relentless organization. You had best watch your back. Uh-oh, that's a problem. A city in turmoil. You wander the streets for a time. There is a new and explosive mood in the air, composed of equal parts fear and anger. People are frightened by the red sky overhead. They believe that it portends the end of a cycle of history, as it did in the last days of Babel. And in the slums of Oubliette and Hogarth Lane, they also believe that the coming end has been brought on by the decadence and immorality of the aristocracy, who dance and enjoy themselves so the poor sicken and starve. It seems the Crimson Death has broken out in other places outside the Grand Theater, that the plague doctors are swarming everywhere throughout the city. There are a dizzying array of rumors in the coffee houses and gin palaces. Some think the Crimson Death outbreaks to be engineered somehow by the nobility, to break the people's spirits. There are rumors that nightmarish things are stirring in the lowest depths of Oubliette, that people are disappearing. There are stories that Rococo military gliders have been seen to the west, that an invasion is imminent. Much of the rage is centered on an event taking place this very night, the Moncada House on Stoker Road. A grand masked ball, the first of the season, is being thrown by Lord Thallow, owner of the Moncada House, and an exceptionally wealthy and influential man, and no expense is being spared. Ignoring the plight of the poor, the anger on the streets, and the toll of lives from the Crimson Death, Baroque's great and good are planning to entertain themselves in spectacular style. The more you hear talk of this ball among the poor, the more the people's fury grows. You suspect that if a popular uprising occurs tonight, it will begin among the angry crowds outside of Moncada House. How do you feel about this? Are we pleased and excited? Perhaps both I and the people of Baroque will finally obtain justice. Are we troubled and uneasy? An explosion of anger will ultimately just mean more suffering for everyone. Or are we indifferent to such things and focus solely on our own goals? How are we feeling, chat? You tell me. So we've not really pursued the justice angle in any of our previous decisions. I mean, justice is nice, but we also know that crime, it happens. Seems my mic has gone a little wonky, so I apologize for the delay. Give me just a sec here. All right, let's get back into this. Anyway, Trav votes for 2. Yeah, it looks like we are going. I mean, it very much seems that we are going to be walking into the ball. That seems to be the way it's going. Yes. A grand masked ball, and interestingly enough, we wear a mask. So, we are definitely getting Phantom of the Opera vibes from the Masquerade. That starts off the second half of the play. Absolutely. Those are absolutely the vibes right now. So I'm going to agree with 2 that we are troubled and uneasy. I mean, we've just had a really crazy experience. We've just died for essentially like a 6th time at this point. It's getting pretty bad on the amount of times we go down and come back up again. So yeah, revolution or whatever is going to happen at this ball is definitely going to ultimately mean more suffering for everyone, including us, I think. One more stray piece of gossip catches your attention. Vincent de Winter, the heir to the de Winter fortune, at the Makata House ball, the special guest of Lord Thallow. He has returned from Terra Incognita, supposedly for only a very brief visit. Whether you most want revenge, restitution, or just answers from your treacherous cousin, tonight will be your best and perhaps only opportunity. It is clear that no matter what happens, you must attend the ball at Makata House tonight. Yep, we're going to the ball. Makata House. The Thallow family townhouse is a splendid, sprawling mansion on Stoker Road. Ah, yes. It would also be an Edgar Allan Poe reference. Yes. You are correct, Trav. But in at least the stage play, not the book, but in the stage play of Phantom of the Opera, the Phantom shows up as the red desk to the Masquerade, which I believe is also kind of a reference to Edgar Allan Poe in the same turn of events, and also a reference to a particular opera. I don't know my opera well enough to say which, but yeah, the Red Death is definitely a figure, a literature figure in a couple of places. So there's, with Crimson Death being a major component, definitely a lot of referencing going on here in multitudes of ways, which I'm adoring, even if I don't know all the references. Tonight, there is a blaze of light in every one of its windows, and already the sounds of music and revelry are floating out into the night. Guards from the Gladden Detective Agency, dressed in long black leather coats, armed with rifles and sabers, stand stiffly to attention. Carriages pull outside the house, and masked revelers climb down to join the bacchanal within. In the darkness beyond Mokata House's wrought iron railings, a different class of people are gathering. Eyes stare from gaunt, haggard faces in resentful and ominous silence as Lord Thallow's guests arrive. Baroque's poor and hungry are gathering outside Mokata House, their numbers growing with every passing hour. So far, the presence of the heavily armed guards are deterring them, but you sense a wild, reckless mood growing among the crowd. The guards sense it too. They glance over at the gathering crowd every so often and tighten their grips on their weapons. The Thallow secret. There is a curious story attached to the Thallow family, that of the Thallow secret. It is said that each Thallow heir is summoned into the Makata House study on their 21st birthday to be told the family secret. Despite lively curiosity, nobody outside the family has ever learned what the secret is. It is speculated that it must be something dark and terrible, for every heir who learns it seems to become grim and old before their time overnight, no matter how cheerful or carefree they may have been before. Is it worth it to learn the Thallow secret? So, do we think that this secret is worth it because the greatest secrets always come at a price? Do we think the secret is not worth it because we would rather stay in cheerful ignorance? Or who could say? We just don't know what to think. Tell me, chat. 1, 2, or 3. Yes, no, or I don't know. Though I didn't realize that Ida was coming to play in this, but we've had a couple of Ida knows options in our choices. Trav says 1. I always love to hear from chat, so if anyone else wants to weigh in on this decision, please speak up. We would love to hear from you. Absolutely, we would. Looks like the ones have it. All right, yes, the greatest secrets always come at a price. Unexpectedly, looking up at Makata House, you feel a strange chill running through you, and for a moment you believe you are going to retch. Flashes of scarlet pain black your mind, sudden conviction. This is where you were taken, after they took you from your home on Radcliffe Terrace, not Oubliette, as Raucus theorized. This is where you were tortured and murdered. Somewhere within this house you will find the scene of the crime. Answers and vengeance await. Gaining entrance to the Makata House ball will not be easy. You are at least already dressed for the occasion. Every guest has concealed their face beneath a mask or hood, but Lord Thallow is clearly aware of the discontent of the masses. He has hired private detectives to guard the doors and also ensured that dozens of police constables are standing by. You consider your options. Various hired entertainers, their patrons, are being permitted into the house along with the guests. You might claim to be one of them and to have lost your pass. If you could demonstrate your skills as a performer to the guards, they might be convinced to overlook your missing pass. You could also try to hail the carriage of a guest bound for the ball. The invitations give attendees the right to bring guests of their own. Perhaps you could persuade someone to bring you along with them to the masked ball. What will we do? Do we attempt to pass as an entertainer hired for the night, or will we flag down a carriage and try to persuade its occupants to allow us to join them? I'm not sure we have the skills for either way, but we can certainly try. We can certainly try. We are bad at performing. But maybe we can do some magic tricks. Yeah, maybe. I mean, we do have all the occult stuff. Yeah, I can't seem... Well, yeah, we haven't really, gone out on the town and made friends so much. So, goodness. I suppose 1 is our best bet. If anyone else wants to weigh in on that, feel free. Feel free. Let's try to pass for an entertainer. Good luck to us. You approach the guards and launch into your story. You claim that your past has been mislaid, but that Lord Thallow has hired you to entertain his guests. You offer to demonstrate your skills. What will you claim to be? A juggler using sleight of hand and manual dexterity? A singer relying on our voice and natural charisma? Or an acrobat relying on our natural speed and agility? Ooh. Ooh. Athletics? Performance? Crime. I think crime is our best bet. I think the sleight of hand juggler act is the way to go. I really wish there was an occult option. We went so like all in on occult, and now we've had like 0 occult options, which is really annoying. But yeah, I think crime is the sleight of hand and manual dexterity one, and it's the one that we're the most likely to do something about. But I think this is going to go terribly. Don't leave it up to me, chat. Don't leave it up to me. Vote, vote. I need the input. Please help. Help. Okay. Trav says 1. Fair enough. Fair enough. We shall try to juggle. You pick up some stones from the ground and try some simple juggling, but you have underestimated the toll that your ordeal with the Crimson Death has taken. You move more slowly now, and your hands tremble uncontrollably. Despite your best efforts, one of the pebbles slips through your fingers. You bend to pick it up and miss another catch, then the final stone lands on your head, to the uproarious laughter of the guards. A laughable performance. Your performance is a disaster, but fortunately the guards find it entertaining, assuming you to be some music hall comedian deliberately bungling the show for laughs. After some discussion among themselves, they decide to allow you inside. You notice, however, that some of them continue to keep a hard gaze trained on you as you walk inside, and point you out to other guards and servants with a significant nod. You have gained access to Makata House, but you are already drawing unwelcome attention to yourself. Yep, we failed abysmally, but at least they think we're a comedic act. Standing inside Makata House's imposing entrance hall, swept this way and that by incoming groups of masked revelers, you consider your objectives here. You know Vincent is in attendance, but there must be hundreds of guests at this ball, and every one of them is masked. You will need to try to learn more from well-informed guests about Vincent and his costume if you are to have any hope of identifying your treacherous cousin. You have one advantage. Thanks to the curse laid upon him in Oubliette, Vincent has lost the use of his left hand and needs to conceal it with a glove. He'll be easier to spot at the ball tonight as a result. You have also realized that this is the house where you were murdered at Vincent's request. Since the Thallow family are apparently now Vincent's business partners, the connection is clear. You also know that your captors were the Brethren of the Bloody Rose, a mysterious secret society of which membership is hereditary. If this is so, the Thallow family must be one of the Brethren bloodlines. Perhaps by looking around the house under cover of the masked ball, you may discover more about the reasons for your horrific murder and more evidence of Vincent's involvement. Wary prey. But you must be careful. Your attire and concealed face mean that you blend in with many other masked revelers at the ball, but the more attention you draw to yourself, the harder it will be to carry out your work here. Vincent is a crafty, cautious individual. If he becomes aware that someone is here hunting for him, he could very well disappear once again, perhaps forever this time, and you will have lost your chance of revenge and justice. You can't remain lingering here much longer. Where do you wish to begin your investigations? So, will we go downstairs to look for clues within Makata House's legendary Cabinet of Curiosities, said to be one of the greatest collections of occult artifacts in Baroque? Will we go to the ballroom to gather information among the dancing, gossiping guests there? Or will we attend the seance being held in the drawing room? We are the occult expert. I think going to the Cabinet of Curiosities is going to get us something interesting. believe that any of these three options are a bad option necessarily. So yeah, 1, 2, or 3, chat. Downstairs, ballroom, or seance? You tell me, what are we doing? Where do we go from here? Well, I don't think we'd be running the seance, but we definitely could handle the seance, yes. I actually, like, the Legendary Cabinet of Curiosities will have some security, but our knowledge of the occult may lead us to interesting information regardless. I think we should do 1. So I believe 1 is the way to go. That's my opinion as well. So that's kind of the majority right now. That is true, Trav. We have died, but we're not exactly a ghost. And as much as the occult, the world building of this world, seances could be just as bunk here as they are in real life. Hard to say. Hard to say. The Cabinet of Curiosities at Makata House is a dark legend in Baroque. Although few have ever been permitted to see it, a testament to the Thallo family's long-standing interest in black magic and the occult, it has been built up by the families over generations. Other Baroque aristocrats have their agents searching all over the world. Pardon. In bustling ports and crumbling ruins, for ancient sculptures and marbles from Babel and Oneros. The Thallos search just as avidly and pay just as much or more for far stranger things. The hand of a man hanged for theft, the horn of an alleged unicorn from the Middle Kingdom, the flayed tattooed skin of a Sejurad dervish, half-melted wax dolls from Calypso, Beors, and thousands of other bizarre and morbid relics, some of which I recognize. It is all kept in the long vaulted cellars under Makata House, and it is guarded closely night and day. You will have to find a way to convince these guards of your right to be there and look through their master's collection. All right, it is not for public. This is going to get interesting. You realize as you take the final steps into the darkness of the cellars that something is very wrong here. A guard should have already challenged. Looking about, you see him lying in a pool of blood at the bottom of the stairs. A massively powerful blow has caved his head in. Going further into the long, low cellars, you see more evidence of the intruder. The corpses of more guards lie scattered carelessly here and there. All seem to have been killed with the same contemptuous ease. The blood is still fresh. Their slayer must still be present here in the shadows of the cabinet. The majority of the collection is kept in wooden cases under glass in long aisles along the cellar, with larger objects, grinning statues taken from shrines in the southern islands, huge carved demonic totems from the cloud forests, looming in the darkness behind the cases. The intruder has shattered the glass of every case they passed by and frantically searched through each case's collection with the same brutal impatience. They have then tossed much of it on the floor in frustration. Sealed red clay pots from the Forbidden Cliff caves of the empty quarter, Middle Kingdom iron puzzle boxes, dusty prescribed tomes written centuries ago by necromancers. The Thallo's priceless, painstakingly built collection lies in jumbled heaps on the damp cellar floor. And we reach the final cellar. It is on entering the third and final cellar, a room containing a small stone sarcophagus from Have at its end, that you catch sight of the intruder at last. A tall, gaunt man dressed in the rough black clothes of a gondol monk, his eyes glowing white like that of a mad prophet. His hair falls to his shoulders, mingling with his impenetrably bushy beard. Despite his leanness, his arms and shoulders are corded with muscle. As you catch sight of him, he swings a woodsman's axe, its blade stained with blood, to shatter yet another case's glass front. He spins around as you approach, his movements frighteningly fast. Without a word, he hefts the axe and What do we do? Do we take one of the dead guard's pistols to try and shoot the monk before he can charge? Or do we rely on our psychic instincts to find something useful in the jumble of occult objects at our feet and use it against the monk? Trav voted 2, and we've gone all in on the occult stuff, so yes, 2 will save us. Who knows what untapped power may rest easy among the oddities on the floor, but it will take a true magus to simply reach in blindly and find something of use. Something. Anything. You feel a calm certainty as you reach down. Your fingers close around a wooden rod, carved to resemble a bundle of reeds, and you straighten up with it in your hand. With it in your hands. The man halts his charge, made suddenly uncertain by the inexplicable confidence in your posture. Unseen, behind him, the lid of the sarcophagus slides slowly open, and a small, withered, mummified hand reaches out. You have found the scepter of Queen Tara, a pharaoh of Hav long ago. With it she could command her legion of followers and pets in death as well as in life. One such is in the sarcophagus behind a mummified gray monkey, once the pharaoh's great delight. Obeying your mental command, the monkey creeps up behind your attacker and wraps deceptively powerful arms around his neck. A surreal, nightmarish scene unfolds. The mad monk struggles with the monkey, trying in vain to slacken its death grip on his throat by battering it against the walls and vault ceiling of the cellar. He exhibits phenomenal strength, but the monkey is relentless. At last, the monk yields to suffocation, minutes after any ordinary being would have fallen unconscious and collapses. Your mummified familiar permits its grip to relax. In an instant, the monk has sprung back on his feet and has seized the monkey and ripped its head off. Oh, that's not good. Welcome, dragon. Welcome. We have infiltrated a ball, gone down to see the curiosities of the occult wonders that this particular family has collected, and found that there's someone already rifling through them, which we are now in a fight with. So we have attempted to subdue him with an undead monkey. It has unfortunately not gone in our favor. The monk looks at you, caressing the ugly dark purple line around his throat where the monkey choked him. There is a grudging respect in his staring white eyes. I have studied the art for 100 years, he says, his voice gravelly from the injury. But I cannot command the dead as you do, even with that witch's wand. Ha! I thought you just another modern dabbler, not a Magister Templi. I underestimated you. Shall we talk? Well, goodness gracious. Brother Ambrosio. The monk introduces himself as Brother Ambrosio. This is a remarkable statement, if it can be believed. Brother Ambrosio was a notorious figure in Gondol's turbulent politics some 50 years ago. A sinister figure known for his wanton, hard-drinking lifestyle and is said to have mesmeric powers that allowed him to dominate the royal family. A conspiracy of nobles who resented his influence banded together and murdered him, although this proved surprisingly difficult. On the same crowded evening, Ambrosio survived poisoning, shooting, and stabbing. They finally drowned him under the ice. That sounds familiar. A certain Russian mystic comes to mind. Ambrosio laughs when you mention the assassination. Oh, they tried, my friend. They tried. He tells you he was brought up by his grandparents in the deep forests of eastern Gondal, a peasant child. After his grandparents perished of the Crimson Death, he wandered in among the trees and was taken and taught the old magic by the weird woman of the woods. She taught him how to remove his heart so he might be deathless from then on. After a long period of study amongst occultists in Escher and Formosa, he made his way to Gondal's court at Elba and used his knowledge of magic and mesmerism to bring himself power and wealth. Yes, very efficient. Many references. And then it all fell apart. Ambrosio pushed too far, became greedy, and so fell afoul of court intrigue. But his attackers did not know the secret of his heart and only thought they had killed him when he fell under the ice. But the attack on Ambrosio triggered a general uprising during which the winter palace at Elba was stormed. Ambrosio's heart, which he kept under lock and key in his private rooms at the palace, went missing in the chaos. If anything happens to it, or an enemy occultist discovers its secret, Ambrosio's deathless existence will be at an end. He has been following it across the world ever since then, and has finally tracked it to the Thallow collection at Mokata House, where he has been searching for it. The Thallow family, he says, grimacing sourly. I recall them from the last time I was in Baroque. Always scheming, always plotting. It occurs to you that Ambrosio, with his experience of Baroque's occult underworld and knowledge of the Thallow bloodline, may be able to shed some light on their torture of you and their strange alliance with Vincent. So how do we respond to him, or ask him a question, I suppose? Do we ask him, can you tell me more about them? Do we ask him, is there some rite of human sacrifice and torture they are known to perform? Or do we ask him, did you run afoul of the Thallos the last time you were here? Trav votes 2, which I do agree with, but honestly, any of these questions could give us answers, but specifically the second one will be more related to our own experience with them, considering how we died originally. What do you think, Dragon? 1, 2, or 3? What shall we ask? It seems 2 is all that we have the vote for. So 2 is the way we will go. There is a gleam of peasant cunning. There is a gleam of peasant cunning in Ambrosio's eyes. I'll tell you nothing until I have my heart. Help me, and you'll learn everything I know of the Thallow family and their ways. You look around you. Nearby, cast down on the floor so hard that it has left a dent, is a brass head. Its features are smooth, a smooth, expressionless mask. Ambrosio follows your glance. Useless thing, he growls. It's the talking clockwork head of Friar Thomas Rowley. The Thallow use it as a kind of catalog for their cabinet, but it's broken. The stupid thing can't tell me where my heart is. He kicks it against the wall, scowling. The noise of Ambrosio's clash with the guards and your own subsequent encounter may have already drawn attention. The longer you remain here, the greater the danger grows, but you can't pass up an opportunity to learn more of your mysterious enemies. What do you wish to do? Do we use an improvised divining rod to try to find the heart? Do we try to fix the brass head so it can tell me the heart's location? Or do we use our own intuition and skills of detection to find the heart? Yeah, our science will not be able to fix that. I think the divining rod is the occult option, and the other one is the insight option. I could have them switched, but this is definitely, I'm pretty sure this is occult, science, or intuition, or insight, I believe. We have a vote for 1. Does anyone else want to weigh in on what we should use to find this Brother Ambrosio's missing heart? Divining rod, brass head, or detection are the key words. 1, 2, or 3 is the order of them. Please tell me, chat, what shall we do? Trav has already voted for 1. Anyone else? Anyone else want to weigh in? The consensus would be lovely. Looks like we're going with 1. All right, let's go. You soon find what you are looking for amid the debris at your feet. A smooth, forked hazel wand. It is one of the oldest and simplest of the magician's tools. You grasp it, closing your eyes, and you feel yourself attuned to it. Then you walk through the cellars, divining rod held out in front of you, held firmly in your mind. It is not long before you feel the rod quivering in your hands. You open your eyes and look down and see, lying atop a pile of debris, a most remarkable sight. A jeweler's egg. The jeweler's eggs have huge golden eggs studded with precious gems, were made for the royal family of Gondal. There are only a handful of these priceless objects to art in existence, and the looting from Gondal's periodic waves of palace coup, civil wars, and rebellions have scattered them across the world. We found this story's equivalence of the Fabergé eggs. The stunning example before you is enameled in a translucent green and adorned with an interlocked web of glowing diamond starbursts. You carefully twist the middle of the egg, and it springs open, revealing a golden duck nestling within. Its feathers carved to an impossibly delicate thinness and adorned with sapphires and emeralds. The duck splits open to reveal a golden hare, its eyes rubies. The hair, warm and red and scarred and still thumping, is a human heart. Combined with Russian nesting dolls, no less. Interesting. It must have been hidden there at some time during the storming of the Winter Palace after the assassination attempt on Ambrosio. You lift it out and hold it to the light. Ambrosio's gratitude. You did it! Ambrosio crows. My friend! He kisses you on both cheeks, staring covetously at the heart before reluctantly breaking his gaze. I will tell you what I know. Some of this you may already know. The Thallo family belongs to the Brethren of the Bloody Rose, one of your Baroque secret societies, exclusive only to certain families. The Brethren secretly serve Sakath, a dark god of the labyrinth who endlessly hungers for human memories, human experience, human souls. Sakath Banath thought that its hunger could be sated by consuming the Tower of Babel, but it did not. Now it wishes to enter the living world, to experience true existence and not just the labyrinth's shadow of it. The Ipsissimus of the Brethren seeks to open the gates between Baroque and the labyrinth and to become Sakath Banath's herald, its avatar in the living world. He believes that he can control Sakath Banath to a certain extent because he knows his secret name in his occult research. But to summon Sakath Banath requires human sacrifice, a great harvest of blood and pain from a subject from one of Baroque's most ancient families. I was one such human sacrifice. Oof, yep, nope, yep. Morgan de Winter, human sacrifice, be thy name. The implications for you are startling, but Ambrosio is focused on the heart. He reaches out a hand to take it. Setting aside what you have just learned for the moment, you return your attention to the deathless monk. Should you keep your end of the bargain? The scene around you demonstrates that Ambrosio is capable of shocking, ruthless violence. He is changeable and unpredictable, switching from jovial warmth to berserk rage and back within heartbeats. By his own account, he is a creature of enormous appetites. The combination of his vast occult lore, iron will, lust for power, and native peasant cunning make him a dangerous man. Should you unleash him on eternity? Then again, he could also be your creature. With his beating heart in your hands, you control him. What do you wish to do? So, do we keep our side of the bargain and return Ambrosio's heart to him? Do we destroy his heart, killing the mad monk? Or do we keep the heart and use it to blackmail Ambrosio? 1, 2, or 3? Trav votes 1. He is a very valuable ally, but also a good distraction, and we could unleash him on the party of his own person, or we could just keep him and make him our minion. Or we could kill him because he's a very dangerous, very unpredictable. What do we do, chat? Please tell me. I love to hear from you guys. Yes, I know Trav has already voted, but that does not matter. I love to hear from everyone. Well, if no one else is going to weigh in, I will go with 1, and we shall see what happens. This is our very first run of the story, so we're going in blind. You hand the thing over to Ambrosio. He grins, holding it aloft in triumph. At last! This time, my friend, I will hide it where no one will ever find it. He grips your shoulder in a bone-crushing clasp. We will meet again, and when we do, we shall drink mead and vodka. Ha ha ha! Is it not so? Ambrosio, clutching his heart, takes his leave. It is time for you, too, to go. Madness in Mokata House. You take stock of the situation. The evening is building to a climax. The guests' behavior has been getting steadily wilder and more unhinged as the night goes on. You witness passionate kisses and the embraces in doorways, violent fistfights breaking out, challenges to duels being exchanged over perceived slight, and huge sums of money squandered on meaningless bets. The hallways are buzzing with salacious gossip, such as the rumor that Dr. Leon Janis, a famous explorer, has just shot himself at this very party. Guests are cracking open priceless, centuries-old bottles of wine and pouring it over themselves. Everyone seems to feel the same apocalyptic energy crackling in the air. Perhaps it is not just Mokata House and the angry gathering crowds outside. Perhaps all across Baroque, everyone is feeling and acting the same way. Adding to the confusion throughout Mokata House is the forceful entrance of the plague doctors. They have pushed their way in past the guards in search for you. Many of the guests take the masked, silent newcomers as additional guests and try to draw them into their game. The plague doctors strike at them, and they're doing them with equal chilling indifference, knocking anyone aside who stands in their path. So far, you have been able to evade them in the confusion. How are you affected by the wild and reckless mood that has gripped Mokata House? Our options are: I am reveling in the madness, stealing wine and kisses and dancing through the hallways. I am a solitary, brooding figure untouched by the frenzy around me. Or I am quietly observing and taking in everything I see, every indiscretion, every sordid liaison, for later use. I agree with Trav. Information is key, and, well, us quietly observing all the madness will definitely get us something. Hopefully, it will get us information we desperately need. Anyone else want to weigh in, though? Well, here we go. Every quiet observed in crazy thing that's happening. We're going. All of this will be valuable. In upper class Baroque, secrets and gossip are the most valuable form of currency, and there is a fortune here. Untouched by the seething madness around you, a discreet and silent figure gliding through the halls of Mokata House, you are ever watchful. A vision in red-black. A sudden wave of nausea and fever washes through you. For a moment, you wonder if the Crimson Death is once again attacking your body. When your vision clears, you see a set of shimmering red-black footprints in blood on the floor in front of you. You feel an irresistible urge to follow them, despite a sickening, ominous sense in the pit of your stomach. You know that these phantom footprints will lead you to a place of true terror, to some unspeakable revelation, and yet you must follow them. Passing by heedless masked revelers, you follow the bloody footprints, visible only to you, up the grand marble stairs of Mokata House's entrance hall and into the quieter areas of the house. You find yourself in front of a green baize door. Without volition, you reach out, and it swings open at the mere touch of your fingertips. We saw a similar door in the asylum. Interesting. There must be some reason for that kind of door in these kinds of places. Inside the study. Beyond is an extensive paneled study. Shelves are filled with books, many of them bound in pale, soft-looking leather. A great black desk dominates the center of the room, and oil paintings hang on the walls. The white tiger skin rugs spread out across the floor does little to dispel the pervasive gloom, its sense of and mysterious evil. Something about this place feels deeply wrong. A quick search confirms your suspicions. This is the study of the master of Mokata House, Lord Thallow himself. Lord Thallow is known for his avid interest in the occult and the web of influence he controls throughout Baroque. From the crime lords of Oubliette to the magnates. There is a great deal you can learn here, but time is limited. What will we examine? Do we examine his correspondence, his collection of occult literature, his binders full of blackmail material, or the desk drawers full of patents and plans for the Promethean Society? Do note that we have gone pretty much all in on the occult skill. So his occult literature is probably the thing that we will be most interested in, considering our previous choices in this story. However, possibly useful. Yes, Trav, I do have to ask, because if anyone else wishes to have a differing of opinion, they may. But yes, the occult literature is our area of expertise, and hopefully we can find some reference to this summoning malarkey of an eldritch being. But it's correspondence, occults, blackmail, or patents. 1, 2, 3, or 4. As you can see, Travis already voted for, but anyone else can weigh in. Looks like 2 is all right. The range of occult texts here is truly vast. You doubt that it can have many rivals outside the Hypnagogue's Black Library in Glasstown. There are books from Old Babel and Oneros, books that seem to hiss and whisper with the black power they contain. There are books of secret names of angels, demons, and jinn from Scheherazade. I am mangling that, and I apologize. That escaped the Caliph's bonfires. Texts on stomach-turning necromantic rituals and apocalyptic visions of the end times. You scan the books. New myriads of awful secrets and horrid mysteries seem to leap into your brain with every turn of the page. Some of the implications are too staggering, too horrifying for even one such as you, who has experienced the mysteries of death firsthand, to fully comprehend. You notice one other strange thing. The books are annotated. It is always done in the same spidery scrawl. The ink of these annotations is relatively fresh in some books. On others, the notes might have been written centuries ago. The library's catalog suggests that the library was built up by successive generations of the Thallow bloodline. Has every Lord Thallow had the same style of handwriting? Or is there something stranger and more sinister going on? Earlier this evening, you have been informed that Lord Thallow has apparently learned Succoth Benoth's true name, a name that can be used to control the dark god. You look through the scrawled notes, and at last you find a strange sigil scratched into the paper. Just looking at its strange, twisted curves makes you feel sick to your stomach. It is no use to you at present. There is no way that your mind can understand this horrific symbol, even with the power and dark insight that death has given it. But just the image of it on the page has burned itself into your subconscious. You know the name now. Perhaps it may save you in the terrible struggle ahead. A hidden panel opens. Trav, I think that is one option, or it's definitely a body switcher of some type. Every person who learns the secret of the Thallow family ends up being the same kind of person. So we can assume that they are changing bodies, and that is the secret. But whether they are possessing spirit or something else is going on, I really could not say. As you are contemplating your findings, a panel swings open in the wall, revealing a narrow secret staircase beyond it. A voice crackles from some hidden speakers. Please come up and join me, Mix de Winter. You feel drawn irresistibly to follow the voice's request. Up those stairs lurks the heart of the darkness in Mokata House. Perhaps the heart of all the darkness in Baroque itself. Something in you is pulled to it like metal magnet. You pass through the secret, move up the stairs to the secret temple. The stairs behind the panel narrow even more as you climb up them, and the ceiling overhead lowers until you are forced to crawl on your hands and knees to squeeze through the nightmarishly close space. To emerge into the space beyond, your head is loud as though in obeisance. Goodness. You are in a long room with walls of highly polished brass. 8 smoking braziers cast a harsh light, unbearable brightness by the reflection of the brass. And every sound seems painfully loud, as though it scrapes directly at your nerves. The smell of incense is overwhelming. There is an altar in the center of the room, a huge black thing carved from glassy smooth material like obsidian, with a pentagram painted on the floor around it. There are old bloodstains around the altar. You know instinctively that it is your blood that it was shed here. Behind the altar at the back of the room, a huge statue has been carved from the same material. It is of a hideous creature that seems to be little more than a mass of writhing tentacles crisscrossed over one another like the passages of a labyrinth. As horrific as it is, the statue draws the eye irresistibly, forcing the viewer's gaze to wander through the endless maze of tentacles. Succoth Benoth. Between the altar and the statue, an old man dressed in flowing white robes carrying an ebony wand, his hair and beard snowy white and his eyes cold pits of darkness. Lord Thallow. Welcome, he says in the same sonorous tones with which he summoned you up the stairs. Welcome home, Morgan. The sight of the blood-stained altar brings 100 painful memories crashing back into your mind. You lay bound on that altar, and a circle of people wearing beast masks and wielding knives cut your flesh from you, slice by slice. They chanted, and they burned incense, and they cut and cut. The raw agony is once again fresh in your mind. Lord Thallow smiles. I see you recall. We thought you were yet another failure, another offering our Lord rejected. How do we respond to this revelation? What do you mean rejected? Or you will pay for what you did to me? Or why would you do this? What does any of this mean? How do we respond, chat? 1, 2, or 3? Rejected, pay, or mean? Or meaning? Those are the key words. Somebody is up to no good. How do we respond, chat? What do we say? I want to know. I depend on you guys to help me make these decisions, after all. Trav makes a good point. We do know why they're doing this and what it all means, to an extent. I mean, to the extent that you can understand any eldritch being outside of sanity. So one might be a very interesting tidbit to know. the thought of the victims dying was the goal. I'm not certain that is the goal here. I'm pretty sure the sacrifice meant to be I think they want to open a portal, and perhaps the victim dying in the process of that is not necessarily the goal, but certainly a considered side effect. But it also could be a way of opening up the physical body to allow Sakath Banath to essentially use it as a way of hatching out into the world. Hard to say. Eldritch beings are vast and unknowable, supposedly. So we have a vote for one. Anybody else want to weigh in and give their opinion? One will get us an interesting answer. 3 might get us some answers as well. I don't think 2 is going to go well for us at all. But I'm happy to go with 1 just to see what the response will be. One it is, I guess. Lord Thowell was supposed to be the avatar, though, from what we heard, but no, 2 is just Bluster. We do not have the combat stats for 2. Not at all. Yeah, Lord Thallow wanted to be the avatar, but I don't know. It's hard to say. Him dying, I think they think of it as a side effect. I don't think that's necessarily the goal. I don't know. It's hard. We were there, but we don't remember much of what was going on outside of pain and torture. Lord Thallow looks levelly at you. Like yours, my family goes back to Babel, to the tower. My ancestor, Spring, saw Succoth Banath consume the tower. Ah, Winter's rival. Goodness. You recall the desperate struggle you were a witness to and participant in during your Crimson Death fugue. She had the vision then to realize that here was a true god, a god of void and hunger, the god of the labyrinth, the god who lived within us all, and she dedicated herself to its service. It whispered to her in the night watches. It told her that its appetite was not assuaged. Under its direction, she founded the Brethren of the Bloody Rose. Their goal is to bring Succoth Banath over into our world, so it could devour all things. The one who summoned it would merge with it, become a vessel for its divine essence, become its avatar in the living world. They and they alone would experience the supreme ecstasy of merging with a dark and hungry god as it consumed the world. Interesting. That has interesting connotations considering we also chose to hear whispers that caused us to build the Tower of Babel to begin with. So it's been manipulating perhaps all the ruling lords of the new Empire of Babel, all 4 of them. We only know the understanding of the season of winter and the season of spring, as we're learning here, but interesting. Lord Thallow seems to shiver at the very thought, but the right kind of blood was needed. For centuries we searched and prayed for guidance. In time, it became clear that only descendants of those who were present when Succoth Banath consumed the Tower of Babel would be accepted. Their ancestors had been touched by God. They were its children, in a sense, and it is the eater of its. You were one such, the descendant of Winter, the architect of the tower, and so we brought you here for the sacrifice. You feel a sudden shock of Thallow speaks with such authority of the last days of Babel. You wonder for a moment if, like you, he has experienced them in a vision or fugue state, but suddenly it dawns on you. That familiar handwriting throughout all the texts in the library, that sinister family tradition. The person standing before you is the spirit of the woman fall of the Tower of Babel. Thallow, or Spring, is a body thief. He, or rather she, takes over the minds of each subsequent Thallo heir when they turn 21. That is the truth of the Thallo secret. She has become a parasitic entity surviving the centuries by scuttling from body to body like a rat from hole to hole. Actually, we do know that the symbiosis with the Crimson Death can shapeshift. It may not be that she is taking over the body each time. It may just be that she is reshaping her body to take over, to reshaping both bodies to switch them places, which is still kind of body snatcher motif, but interesting. So how do we respond to all of this? Our options are Succoth Benoth is not the only one who eats its young, or what role did Vincent play in all of this, or but my death did not bring Succoth Benoth into our world, or you're a mad butcher and you need killing, or you gave me an eternity of agony, you are about to get it back, or lastly, you say nothing further, just advance on Lord Thallo. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Young Vincent, death, butcher, agony, advance. Those are the keywords, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Feel free to use either number or keyword. I will look for both. Personally, I think 4 and 5 are mostly bluster on our part. We don't particularly have the skill set to be that confident in attacking him. Finding out what part our cousin played might be of interest to us, primarily because we've been hunting him down this whole time. 1 and 3 are kind of obvious. We could point out the obvious if we wanted to, or we could just advance and not try to get any information at all. Just get straight to the confrontation. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, chat. You tell me how should we respond to all of this information? I think 2 was our best bet as well, Trav. That's my opinion, but I'm happy to hear from anyone else who wants to weigh in. Looks like we're going with 2. What role did Vincent play in all this? Vincent! Poor, greedy, foolish Vincent. With just enough knowledge to hurt himself. It was he that brought you to our attention. He had become interested in family history, undoubtedly with an eye to matters of inheritance, and was able to prove that your line stretched directly back to Babel. He had an interest in the occult and knew something of our desires and suggested a partnership. All the ridiculous wretch wanted was the money. Those estates in Terra Incognita and shipping networks across the East. He had no notion of the real stakes. Thallo laughs. And he was still some use even tonight. I knew his presence would lure you here. We have another chance to speak up. Pretty much we've lost, I think, what? 2 out of... So 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Actually, no. Just the 1. Do we want to point out the obvious in either 1 or 2? Or would we like to get our bluster on with 3 or 4? Or are we just ready to confront this guy? Turns out our cousin was just greedy. Poor, foolish, greedy Vincent. You want to call him a mad butcher and that he needs killing? I was thinking more along the lines of, 2. Okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same page. 2 it is. But my death did not bring Succoth Benoth to our world. No, it did not. But it was all part of Succoth Benoth's plan. I now know. So was your Dr. Holofernes, the lunatic who calls herself your creator. Succoth Benoth must have whispered to her too, without her knowledge. In her dreams and night terrors, it planted the scenes for the Holofernes procedure in her brain. You were brought back for a purpose, to die a time. It will be the final sacrifice needed to bring our Lord from the labyrinth. We might want to ask number 1 as well, just so that we can get the most information out of this possible. That's I didn't realize that we were going to get to do multiples of these. So 1, 2, 3, or 4. Information, bluster, or let's go, fight time. You guys tell me. But we've died something like 6 times now. We might not be a good sacrifice after all. 2 more and we get a free coffee. Exactly, Trav. Exactly. All right. We're going to go with 1 just to see what other tidbits of information we can find. Bella looks taken aback for a moment, then laughs. Oh, well done, she says. Yes, it's true. I live by eating my children, stealing their young, healthy bodies as mine becomes worn out. Why should I not? It was I who gave them life in the first place. I exercise the same right as my lord. Ooh. All right, now we can be spicy. So either we are going to call them a butcher, that we are going to claim that we're going to give them all the agony back that they gave us, or we are just going to advance and start and kick off this fight. 1, 2, or 3, chat. What shall we do? Butcher, agony, or advance? 1, 2, or 3. You tell me. I can't see anything good coming from 1 or 2, but in the language of literature tropes, upsetting our enemy or angering them may cause them to miscalculate or lash out or just give us an opening that we need. So taunting has its place. That doesn't mean that we should taunt them. It just means that it could give us an opportunity. Can we just give him a friendly hug and then pop our claws out, stabbing him as we do so? Surprise! We could try. We could certainly try. I think that's number 3, though. Surprise hug. We do have those talons, yes. Chat, feel free to weigh in. 1, 2, or 3. Butcher, agony, or advance? You tell me. Oh, I think they are a mad butcher, but they take after their lord. So yeah, 2. We'll try 2. We'll see what happens. You gave me an eternity of agony. You are about to get it back. Thallo laughs and brandishes the ebony wand. Great God, Succoth Benoth, Lord of the Labyrinth, eater of its young, your offering is presented. All at once, the statue behind her suddenly comes unnatural life. The tentacles moved about one another. There are occasional startling glimpses of what lies behind the tentacles, which appear to be a darkness deeper and more profound than anything imaginable in the human world. You feel your head spin, and your body is racked with pain. You are dimly aware of Thalos speaking, voice unhinged with exultation. Now I will become Sarkoth-Banoth's herald. I can feel it already. Come, Lord, do not delay. You will feast on this world. But you are not listening. You feel as though something dark and heavy is swelling within your brain, trying to burst. You sense that it will bring you terrible power, at the cost of much of what remains of your humanity. Your body shakes as a voice speaks deep within you. You are my herald, my chosen one, the vessel for my power. You feel Sarkoth-Banoth's true name pulsing in your mind, becoming more and more comprehensible as the dark god stirs within you. You cannot fully comprehend or pronounce it. It has not yet come. Whew, that's intense. What do we do? Do we try to repress the awakening of power within us, using all the stamina we have left? Do we stubbornly try to hold Sarkoth-Banoth back, calling on our willpower and reserves of mental strength? Or do we allow Sarkoth's power to awaken within? Do we just allow it to? 1, 2, or 3, chat? What shall we do? Repress, hold, or awaken? I will take any of those keywords. Two is probably the best option. We do have a strong mind, yes. I don't think that letting it manifest is smart. No, that's probably an ending right here, right now. But it could be interesting. We don't know. Currently, 2 is the choice on the table. Anybody else want to weigh in? Feel free. I'd love to hear from you guys. Looks like we're going with choice 2. We will stubbornly try to hold Sarkoth-Banoth back, calling on our willpower and reserves of mental strength. You realize that you can fight back. You recall the fever dreams in which you were Sarkoth-Banoth all too well, even though you suspect the experience was just an approximation of the incomprehensible horror of truly being such an entity. But what you learned most of all is that Sarkoth-Banoth is dependent on human imagination. It feeds on human dreams and visions, on human culture and art. But perhaps that means it is also vulnerable. You realize now that Banoth has chosen you, not Thallo, to be its herald, but you do not have to be its slave. You can draw on all humanity instead, use its archetypes to strengthen you. Which archetype will you choose? The warrior, the trickster, or the poet? Ooh, interesting. Warrior will probably give us combat, trickster crime, poet performance. Or at the very least, it's probably drawing on those. Combat and crime are essentially equal, so trickster or warrior is kind of our two possible best options. We have no more performance than we don't. So our electricity is going down as well. So warrior, trickster, or poet, chat, what are we going to do? Are we going to be strong, be tricky, or be artistic? No, we can't be the shaman. We ate the shaman in that vision. So we cannot be the shaman. We ate the shaman. We probably should not have picked the shaman. Whoopsie daisies. Nope, it's not good. But 2 is the vote on the table. Anybody else want to weigh in on 2? You can definitely choose differently if you'd like. I love to hear from my chat. Though I'm never unhappy to have lurkers. I think we're going with the trickster. Good luck to us. Cross your fingers. Humanity has always dreamed of the coyote, the fire giant's child, the master thief. Now, all of that cunning and wild charisma fills you up. You are a phantom, possessed of 1,000 faces. You go where you will about the surface of the earth and across the stars themselves if you choose. You could steal a spark of fire from the gods or a lost soul from death. All of that power is there within your fingertips. The power filling you, the archetype's strength and glory, is enough to seize back control from Succoth-Benoth's presence. The dark god cannot exert its power over you at the moment, but you sense that this is only a temporary reprieve. Succoth-Benoth has chosen you as its herald, and it will apply ever more force to you until your resistance breaks. If you are not to undergo a horrifying transformation and bring about the ending of the world, you will need to find a way to stop it more permanently. Thallo has been watching you incredulously. You realize that she understands what has occurred. Succoth-Benoth wished you for its herald? You? But you are just an offering, just the victim, just the sacrifice, and... Thallo's face is white with shock. You rejected it? You rejected our lord, the eater of its young? The tentacles are rising up. She is too shocked to pay attention to the tentacles waving behind her. Suddenly, they grab her hand and lift her up into the air so that she dangles in front of you. Thallo, the architect of all your suffering, hangs upside down before you, completely at your mercy. What will you do? Do we grant Thallo a quick death? Will we allow Thallo to be devoured by the god she worships? Or will we free Thallo and spare her life? As I recall in our visions of the fall of the Tower of Babel, winter, the season of winter, as they were known, was actually wished the season of spring to be their ally, was actually very fond of them. Tragically, they were at odds, but they had winter had originally hoped that they wouldn't be. So perhaps it might behoove us to grant that long lost, very much eaten ancestor of ours their dying wish and be and to follow from Succoth-Benoth. However, they are currently and perhaps granting them a quick death so that Succoth-Benoth cannot eat them. More safe choice for us. Any way we go about it, however, is a choice. So quick death, devoured by a god, or spare her life. What shall we do, chat? What do we want to do? Trav, I agree. I don't see Thallo being grateful to us, and allowing Thallo to be eaten would just empower the god that we are trying to hold the world. So a merciful death is probably our safest answer. I absolutely agree with that. If anyone else wants to weigh in, they may. But I think, I think 1 is the way to go. Truly, I do. Looks like we will grant Thallo a quick death. You reach out with both hands and snap Lord Thallo's neck with a single twist. The light goes out of her eyes, and they turn cold and glassy. The tentacles, no longer interested in the dead thing it holds, lets it drop to the floor. The end of the world. The tentacles continue to writhe and twist, although they ignore you. You feel the need to leave the fetid air of this place, back down the narrow stairs. Even the oppressive atmosphere of Thallo's dark study is an improvement. As you take a moment to breathe, the sound of shouts and breaking glass comes to you from below, and suddenly you sense smoke in the air. It seems that the poor outside have at last stormed Mokata House. The revolution has begun. But even more urgent, you've just witnessed the birth pangs of a dark god. One way or another, Sagoth Banath is coming to Baroque this very night, and it will consume all things. It is the end of the world. End of chapter. And now we have reached chapter 8. This chapter 7 took a while. And I have a feeling chapter 8 will also take a while. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave things here and pick up chapter 8 tomorrow. This has been a wild chapter, honestly. We are through a bacchanal of a masquerade, a masked ball. And we have just seen the very beginning of the end of the world and have been involved in it. Oh boy. Babylonian deity. Ooh, one of the deities brought to the former kingdom of Samaria by the men of Babylon. Yes, I believe that this Babylonian deity was also referenced a little bit in the works of what is his name? Created Cthulhu and the Yellow King, all of his work. I believe that he has been alluded to there as well. That's primarily why I think he's in this story. Yes, Lovecraft. I think he's also been referenced to in Lovecraftian work as well. So don't know why I was blanking the name of Lovecraft, but here we are. Thank you, Trav. I appreciate you. So yeah, crazy chapter. This story is getting intense. We started out with mad science, and now we're into eldritch horror. It is, oh boy, fun ride. So yeah, for anyone who's new to my stream, feel free to check out the VODs that from Monday, this last Monday forward. That will give you the rest of the story to see what choices we have made and what places we have been. To wrap up, I'm going to go over the stats to see how they've changed at the end of the chapter. So, as for our faculties, aka our skills, we are still not neutrally athletic. We have upped our occult just a couple, just a tick. Our combat is still at a dismal 55, but our insight is a fairly solid 64. Our science and our performance are as neutral can be, and our crime has gone up as well because we have used the archetype of the trickster. We are now a bit more of a criminal. Unfortunately, our mama is dead, so we can't tell her about it. Demeanor. We are more compassionate than ruthless, more debonair than brooding, more scheming than forthright, more reasoned than mystic, more romantic than cynical. We are equally hedonistic and austere, and we are more courteous than blunt. So that's just our personality in a titch. As for life, electricity is essentially our hit points, our health, and any other system. And we have taken a hit primarily for two reasons. One, when our talents were installed, we took a hit. And two, we've been shot in the chest 3 times, and that kind of gave us a hit as well. Our sanity is not fully 100% either, considering the ridiculousness of the docks of this city. But we are still quite humane rather than revenant. As for our pursuits, we have not pursued minions in any way. Our sabotage is an interest, research more so. Our evidence is an interest. Our darkness and theater are still things that we participate in, and we are still slightly more lawful than revolutionary. We do not have any connections to neighboring country of Rococo, though. As for the people that we do know, as before, Holofernes and Raucus are still our dear, dear friends. Chloe is someone that we have a bit of a fond, and Julian and Nicholas are still merely our acquaintances. So that's how we line up. As for the achievements, we have gained the coming of age achievement by learning the Thallo secret. All of the rest of these achievements we learned in previous chapters. So there are still plenty more to find. So that is where we stand at chapter 8, End of Days. I hope that everyone has been enjoying this this reading of the which is a choose your own adventure game / story by Choice of Games. This one is definitely in the style of Lovecraft, of John Carter of Mars, of many of those types of literature from a particular era of British literature, no less, the majority of them, I think. So that's why the story is the way it is, and we are enjoying the heck out of it, not to mention vibe through. So if you have been enjoying this, please join me tomorrow where we will tackle chapter 8 and hopefully chapter 9, depending on how long that goes, and try to see if we can save the world, or because that seems to be where we're going, is trying to save the world. We're also hunting down our cousin Vincent to attempt to regain our fortune, our inheritance, as it were. And we are also trying to save the theater where we have currently made our home and its occupants. Not to mention Holofernes, though we have lost touch with all of our friends, as it were, prior to this masquerade ball going horribly, horribly wrong. So until tomorrow, I will look forward to seeing you guys then, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. So take care, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.